and I put a picture here. This in 2008 when I received the Anugerah Akademik Negara or National Academic Award from the Minister of Higher Education at that time, Datuk Sri Nordin, yeah, Datuk Sri Nordin, and now he's the minister again for a second time. So receiving this award in 2008 was really a tipping point for me. What I mean by tipping point, I received this award after 15 years as a lecturer in USM, and my experience of preparing the teaching portfolio for this award really opened up a new vista, a new perspective for me, and give me a new understanding and appreciation of what actually being an academic is like, the philosophy behind it. For 15 years, I've never actually looked back or take stock or sit down to look to evaluate, to assess my teaching. I didn't realize that actually the opportunity to apply for the Anugerah Akademik Negara really gave me a new perspective and a new kind of fresh look on teaching and learning. And it really gave me a new meaning. So after I received the award, basically I jumped into another trajectory. So that's what I mean by a tipping point. So I hope the session this morning will give you a fresh perspective of what it means to be an educator. And having a teaching portfolio is one way of putting things together to record everything that we have done so far and give us a new perspective. So the first, for the session this morning, the first part, I will share the purpose and the benefits of teaching portfolio. So understand the big why. Why do we need to have a teaching portfolio? If it's not for the award, but it's for our self-improvement, for our professional improvement. And number two is identify the key components and elements to include in teaching portfolio. So in this session today, I will spend some time on teaching philosophy. That's the most critical part that we need to have in teaching portfolio. Teaching philosophy. Have you ever thought about your teaching philosophy? Everything that you do in the classroom, outside the classroom, it's usually driven by something that you believe in. So what is it? So what you believe in and what you practice must be consistent. And then that, if you think about it, is your teaching philosophy. You probably never thought about it and don't even are not aware about it. But now it's good time now to think about, okay, this is what I've been doing, and this is my way, so-called, the way I do it in the classroom with my students, this is the way I teach. But what is the underlying or underpinning philosophy in terms of the pedagogical principles, in terms of the pedagogical theory, in terms of the adult learning theory, and so on? So good time now for us to formulate now our own teaching philosophy based on what we believe in, what we have been practicing. So this is one of the key components in teaching portfolio, where you will anchor everything around it. Okay. Then number three here, to learn strategies for effectively organizing and presenting portfolio material. This will be in the second part mainly. How you put things together, what is the structure that we should have in the teaching portfolio, and how do we put them together coherently, cohesively for the presentation part. And then we will explore some examples of best practices for creating a professional and teaching portfolio. I will give you several examples in the second part mainly. Yeah. And then number 5, start to develop your own teaching portfolio. And for this, probably we can have like a half a day or 1 day workshop where you will, I will give, we will do the hands-on. At the end of the workshop, you will come up with your draft teaching portfolio, okay? And then from there, you can build upon it gradually. So now let's start with what is a teaching portfolio. But before that, maybe I'm curious to know, let me see how many participants here in this.
Ada 50 apa? Ni ada 50.
50 ya. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get to the tools. Always confused with Microsoft Team here. Okay. I just want to get to the chat. Can you share with me, 50 participants here, whether you have a teaching portfolio or not? So please say yes if you have got one. Please say no in the chat. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll try to get to the chat. Where is the chat? Okay, there's a chat. So very quickly, I just want to get some idea. How many of you here have a teaching portfolio? So if you have one, please say yes. If you don't have one, please say no or not yet. I love that, not yet, okay? Okay, how many of you have one? Any of you? Any one of you have one, have a teaching portfolio already? So please say yes in the chat box or not yet if you don't have one.
Bro, one is not, one is yes, or two is no.
If you have one,
yes or no lah, easier.
A teaching portfolio, please say yes. If you don't have one, please say no or not yet. Okay, not yet.
Alicia ada, Alicia.
Siapa yang ada yes? Dr. Alicia, that's good. It's good to see at least we have one yes here. All right. So perhaps some of you have one, some of you probably don't have. So, but it's okay. Yeah. So let's get back to our teaching portfolio. So what is teaching portfolio? But before we talk about teaching portfolio, the word portfolio itself, the term portfolio, I'm sure you are familiar with the term portfolio. What is portfolio? So this is one of the definition. A portfolio is, so let's pick up some keywords here. A purposeful collection of documents. So we don't simply compile everything. Imagine if you are an artist, if you are an architect, or if you are a teacher or lecturer, if you compile everything and you have been doing this, we have been working or teaching for 10 years, 20 years, can you imagine how big would the portfolio be? So portfolio is actually a selective artifacts. So you have to choose the right documents, the right artifacts, the right sample to showcase. Remember, portfolio is to showcase your strength. Okay, so it must be purposeful, intentional collection of documents, artifacts. We call it artifacts. So it could be a sample of students' work, samples of your learning activities, sample of the project that you do with the students, samples of selective one to showcase. This is how I do problem-based. Yeah.
Betty dengan Dr. Chua dia komen dia ada buat tapi dia tak tahu teaching portfolio or not. Dia ada buat tapi tak tahu.
Mungkin ada dalam bentuk website dan sebagainya kan. Okay, tak apa. At the end of this, at least at the end of this webinar today and the next one, you will see, I'm sure, what you have got so far, Dr. Chua. Dr. Chua kan tadi. Probably in some form is actually at least some elements that you have already. So it's just a matter of putting it in a proper, more organized manner so that it become a proper teaching portfolio. So you have got some baseline or foundation already to start with and to build upon. So that's good, yeah. So a portfolio in general, whether it's teaching portfolio for lecturers or for teachers, for architect, normally they have a portfolio. So when they go for another project, for example, they will bring this portfolio to showcase their design, their projects that they have completed and so on. Artists like and models, for example, usually they will have those who do the designing and so on, internal designer, ID people who do the internal designing for houses and homes and so on. So they have a portfolio where they can showcase their best work. Okay, it's a sample of work that showcases an individual skill. So that's why we have to be very careful and very purposeful and intentional, because your portfolio will show what you have done and what's your strength and what is special about you as a teacher, as an artist, as an architect. Experiences to show your experience if you have been teaching like 20 years. So a sample that people see from your portfolio can see, oh, okay, this is what you have done in the last 20 years. Your accomplishment, your achievement, and growth in a particular domain or field. The keyword here is growth. In fact, actually, a teaching portfolio, when we talk about teaching portfolio, to me, is a document of your journey and how you grow from a novice lecturer to become a professional lecturer to a scholar. So that's, if you remember, if you have attended my session before on professionalism in teaching, so you can see that path and the journey from novice to professional to a scholar, and everything can be captured and distilled into a teaching portfolio. So this, in the essence, or in a nutshell, what is a portfolio? Okay, so example of portfolio in the picture here. This is actually, I think, architect, yeah, or internal designer maybe. So these are actually hard copy document, and inside here, you know, you can put the so-called artifacts that will showcase your design, that will showcase the kind of project that you do with the students and so on. So what is a portfolio? It is a curated compilation of tangible evidence that demonstrate one's abilities, knowledge, and achievement in cohesive and organized manner. So those words in bold, very important to understand here. By the way, all the slides that you see in my presentation here, I will share the link for you to have access to it, everything. Yeah, so don't worry. Everything that you see in my presentation here will be shared with you. The whole, everything entirely in the entire document. Yeah. So again, what is a portfolio? It is a curated compilation of tangible evidence. Tangible. You can see it, you can touch it, that demonstrate one's abilities. It basically to showcase your strength, to showcase your skill, to showcase your knowledge, to showcase your expertise. Okay, and what you have achieved, your achievement, your accomplishment, your everything that you, let's say the awards that you have, the Teaching Excellence Award, the the students' testimonial, the testimonial from the peers, from the stakeholders, from the industry, from the project that you have completed with the industry, for example. So everything put in teaching portfolio to showcase the growth, your growth over the years. Portfolios are often used for assessment. Okay, we can use portfolio for assessment, for yearly appraisal, for awards, for example, but that's not the the main objective. The main objective for me teaching portfolio is for you to grow, for you to see your own achievement, to evaluate, and then reflect what you have achieved, what you have not achieved, what are the gaps that you still have to fill in, and how you can improve. That's the bottom line. How you can improve and be better. So providing use for assessment, can use for reflection, professional or academic purposes, and providing comprehensive and dynamic representation of an individual's capabilities. Dynamic representation. Why dynamic? Because things keep changing and evolving. So your teaching portfolio is not stagnant or static. It can grow, you can always update it, because as long as you are still with, in the doing the things, and accomplishments over time. So the previous slide and this slide, to me, you can always go back and read again, because if you want to really understand what is portfolio and what is teaching portfolio in our context, understand the significance of it and why you should have it. You should have one. In fact, I should say you must have one for your own self, for your own self-improvement. And later on, of course, you can use for many other things, including applying for awards and so on. And even after you retire, you look back, you want to look back 30 years at UNITAN or 35 years at UNITAN. What have I achieved? What are my accomplishments? What have I done? What is something that I can be proud of, that I can show to my grandchildren, for example, your teaching portfolio, or something that you can share with the junior lecturers, junior academic, not to show off anything like that, no, but to inspire them so that they can look at our teaching portfolio and they can, oh, okay, it will inspire them and they want to achieve the same even more. So these are examples of how the teaching portfolio looks like in the hard copy form. This, to me, in this example is probably architect here, teaching portfolio for architect. Is maybe internal designer here. This is in the form of web-based portfolio. Yeah, we can also nowadays, because of the digital technology and so on, we can have the portfolio in the form of digital. And this is even better because you can always update some like a live portfolio. Live, why live? Because it is a living thing, meaning that it grows. So you can update when you have something like, say you want a new award. Okay, update under the award or recognition part. Okay, so this have a look, yeah, how it looks like. This is artist example of the artist portfolio. So again, it's a web-based. You can create a very simple, uncluttered website to showcase your work online. And trust me in this one, because once you have your teaching portfolio in the form of website or online, this will become your gateway to the world. And this will become the door for the world to have access to you, to know you, to know your existence. So in relation to another thing that I hope I can share with you in the future, talking about the academic persona and academic branding, this is how the world can discover you. Outside world would discover you. This is how postdoc, prospective postdoc, or postgraduate student, PhD student, master student would discover you. A lot of people don't realize this. Oh, many have this kind of they are skeptic. They go, oh, I don't want to show off lah, tunjuk my work online. Menunjuk nanti I feel like riak and so on. No, I hope you don't have that kind of mindset. As I said just now, trust me, because I have a website here. Let me show you now. This is my so-called my portfolio. It's not a proper, comprehensive, full-blown portfolio. No, it is like 20% of the whole thing, but the structure is there. The structure of a portfolio is there, and this website I want to share with you here have become my gateway to the world and become the door for the world to have access to me. And this has opened up numerous opportunities. So your online portfolio in the form of website like this become actually your gateway to the world, open up the window of opportunity for you. And through this website, I know like 4 or 5 my postdoc from India came through this website. When I asked them, how do you get to know me? They said, through my website, this one actually. And I've got invitation as keynote speaker and many other things. People discover me through this website. So my advice is, after the second session, when you know what is teaching portfolio and how to create a proper teaching portfolio, you can start using a Google site and have something like this. Everything is free. It's just a matter of putting the content like so. So I still have USM here. Probably I will change. Well, I would not change, but I will add another one below Unit 10. Okay, so you can see about me here. So this basically some of the elements that you will have in the teaching portfolio. So about my teaching here, my research, become your research portfolio as well. Okay, publication, okay, and other things. Okay, so you have seen already a portfolio or teaching portfolio in the form of online or web-based, just like the artist here. Okay, and let me show you before I move on. I don't know whether I have another example. Yeah, this is an example of teaching portfolio for Anugerah Akademi Negara. This is from my colleague here, Dr. Azida, Professor Madya Dr. Azida. Okay, and he was the recipient of Anugerah Akademi Negara yang ke-10, 10th National Academic Award. And this is the kind of the front cover page of the portfolio. Is very well done, because when you document your teaching portfolio, the presentation part is also important. Not only the content, but the presentation part is also important, because remember, the first impression always counts. So that already give a positive vibes for the reader before they go in and look at the content of the teaching portfolio. And I want to show you 2 examples from USM. In USM, we use a platform, online platform called Mahara. And for new lecturers, we train them how to use this platform. And one of the requirements for the confirmation, they have to create their teaching portfolio before they can be confirmed. That's one of the prerequisite or the conditions for them to be confirmed. So in the last 10 years, I think about 400 or 500 of our lecturers now, the young one, they already have one teaching portfolio using this platform called Mahara. So we have got the permission. I've got the permission to use this as an example to share with you. So this Dr. Ashraf here. Welcome to my e-portfolio, Muhammad Ashraf Mansor. So you can see the academic qualification there and the CV you can click and even download. So imagine if the prospective industry or stakeholders or prospective postdoc, postgraduate, they come to the website because it's open to the public as well. And they can see they want to know more about their prospective supervisor. So they want to learn more whether this is the right person to supervise my work, to supervise my PhD. So here, there are 12 pages here. So you can go to teaching philosophy. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yang ini contoh ni dia dekat USM ni free kan? Free punya?
Free. Yes.
This is free. Maknanya Unit 10 boleh buat lah untuk staff.
Boleh buat. This is integrated with Moodle. So meaning you can integrate this. You can integrate this with your Brighton. With your Brighton. Okay. So this is actually integrated. So you can see here, he put the video, he put the activity, his activities, teaching, research. So this one only page 3, page 4, page 5, and so on. Supervision and young talents. The research area. So student feedback and testimonial. All this, what you are seeing now, is some of the elements that we need to have in teaching portfolio. So imagine now, starting from year 1, our lecturers now already have this teaching portfolio, slowly curating the content, selective feedback from students, selective artifacts. So can you imagine in 5 years, their teaching portfolio is already very comprehensive. And in USM now, we can, those who are applying for promotion through teaching track, we can now use this for assessment. Remember, teaching portfolio also can be used as an assessment tool for the administrators, for example. But for the lecturer, they can always look at their own teaching portfolio and they can always reflect, oh, I've been teaching for 3 years now. What have I done? What have I achieved? So they can look at what they have got here based on their own, the way they curate the content here. So very useful for the lecturer to reflect and improve. And that's basically what we want to achieve from teaching portfolio. So let's look at this one. This one from, this is another lecturer here, Dr. Azizul here. The presentation, it's up to the lecturer to design. So this is where they can use the creativity. So for example here, he put a word of wisdom here, and the word of wisdom that he chose here probably reflect his teaching philosophy, reflect his own personal philosophy. He believed in it. Okay, so meaning that when we look at the details of the teaching portfolio, these words that he chose as words of wisdom will be reflected in the whole teaching portfolio. So you can see here, 13 pages, teaching philosophy, academic courses, teaching plan, teaching materials, scholarship of teaching, research grant, course workshop, mentorship, supervision, publication, future plans, students' feedback, references. Everything here in one place. So you can go to the next page. So the teaching philosophy here in the form of graphic. And the students or the peers can also give feedback here. That's a good part. Go to the next page. Okay. So I will share more in the next in the second part, because in the second part we'll talk about structure, content, organization, and so on. But for today, I just want to, my mission today, my main objective is to give awareness, to give understanding, and to convince you why you must have a teaching portfolio. Yeah, if I can achieve that by the end of today's session, I think I will be happy. Yeah. So, introduction to teaching portfolios. So as mentioned just now, the teaching portfolio is best thought of as a documented evidence. It's a collection of evidence. Because you can claim that you can do all sort of things in the last 10 years, 20 years. But words are words. You can say that you have done a lot of wonderful things, fantastic things, innovation, and so on. But where is the evidence? Show me the money. Show me the evidence. So that's where in the teaching portfolio you will choose the artifacts to show the evidence. The evidence of an educator's journey. A collection of documents that tell a story about an educator. So this is very interesting. A teaching portfolio is basically a story of your journey as an academic in the world of academia. In the last 10 years, when I joined Uniten, I was very green at that time. So storytelling, you know. So I was a novice. I just completed my PhD in something. And after joining Uniten, I was given the task to teach this course. And the course was not something that my PhD was on. Yes, I took that course in my undergraduate, but now I have to teach the course. What should I do now? So you have to tell that story to show that your struggle, to show how you grow from zero to hero. Okay, so tell a story about the educator, about yourself, how you become what you have become now. The story of your struggle, the story of your achievement, your failures, how you come back, how you deal with the failures, and what lesson you have learned, and how you have improved. So illustrating his or her professional growth. So when someone read your portfolio, they can see, wow, okay, they can see how you grow, how you deal with failures and so on, your and now become who you are. So that's why we always say that when you see someone have succeeded, a successful person, what you see is only now, but what you don't see is in the last 10 years, their struggles and so on. But when you have a teaching portfolio, you can see all that because it is captured nicely. Illustrating his or her professional growth and teaching achievement. A teaching portfolio is compilation of material that provides evidence of an educator's knowledge, skill, and achievement in the field of teaching. Research portfolio is another thing. So its purpose is to showcase the educator's effectiveness as a teacher and to provide a comprehensive view of their teaching philosophy and practices. So people would want to know your teaching is guided by what? What is your teaching philosophy? What you are guided by something, you know, you must have some belief in the way you do things, you teach, in the way you prepare your teaching material, in the way you deliver, in the way you interact with the student, in the way you help the student. There must be some philosophy or belief that you adhere, that you follow. Yeah. So this is something that we must start to think about it and articulate it. We must be able to articulate it in the form of words. By the way, I just want to say the whole presentation that you are seeing now is created using AI. Even the picture here, the smiling lady here was created using Midjourney, another AI application. Well, sorry, I hear something. Ada someone want to ask question there? Go ahead.
Tak ada Pak.
Tak ada ya? Okay. No, you can interject anytime ya. Boleh unmute the microphone. Don't worry about interjecting or disrupting ya. You can interject anytime to ask question at any time. Okay. Now, those who have attended my talk before on professionalism in teaching probably have seen this one. So I want to show this again in the context of teaching portfolio. Remember, teaching portfolio is a documented evidence of your journey in the academia. So that's why I want to reiterate the point again. Teaching, when you look at your career path, your career so far, is a journey. So you can view it as a journey. And during the journey, you start from a baby, from a novice. After a few years, up to this point, look back, and you should be able to see how much you have grown. So you can see like a small seed. A seed become germinate, it become a plant, small plant. The root is still very short. If there's a strong wind, it can be uprooted easily. But when you continue to grow, you become stronger, become taller. The roots become longer, so they become more stable. And like this, more leaf, bigger trunk, taller tree, more stable, and until you become professional now and a scholar. So at this point, you really you are now recognized by your peers in your own area, recognized by even by the nation, by the country, even globally as well. So here you are already very strong, already very established. Okay, so the whole thing here is a journey. At every point here, you add value. You add value. Sometimes you don't realize it, but you add value. You have new things, new strength, so you become stronger and stronger and stronger. Imagine if you have never captured this. If you have been at Unit 10 for 10 years, macam Dr. Zulman, how long you have been in Unit 10, Dr. Zulman? I believe 20 years maybe?
23.
23 years. 23 years. But imagine, Dr. Zulman, in the last 23 years, if someone asks, or during the promotion, someone asks you, what have you done or contributed, meaningful contribution that you have done in terms of teaching innovation and so on in the last 23 years? Probably you will find it hard to say it in a short and concise way. But if you have got a teaching portfolio and you have done it properly, it's very easy for you, because if you have done the proper reflection, the proper assessment, you know exactly what are your strengths, you know exactly what's your teaching philosophy. So now it's become very easy for you to explain to everyone. Oh, my teaching philosophy is this, and I'm guided by my teaching philosophy. I believe in this, I believe in that. So that's basically to show also the growth, how you become what you have become now.
Betul tu bro. Ni bau sedar bro, bau sedar.
Never too late, never too late. And again, I want to repeat to show this slide again, because when you start nanti in the next webinar, we talk about the how part, the structure. So you want to tell a story now, the story of your journey in the last 23 years. I take Dr. Zulman as an example. So you want to reflect back 23 years ago when I joined Unit 10. The exploring part here, how I was struggling, how I was still, at the point where I was finding my footing, how my colleagues helped me to, to guide me, how my students give me feedback to improve my teaching. So that's stage one, exploring part. Tell a story. make it very interesting and captivating. Make it, to show how you grow from zero to become now professional educators, and finally you become a scholar. So in Anugerah Academy Negara, one of the syarat condition is only after you have, after you have been teaching for 10 years, minimum 10 years only you can apply. Why 10 years? There are a lot of arguments on that. Yeah, the 10 years because we feel that the novice part probably will take you 5 years. Then 6 years to 10 years, you probably have become, you have achieved the so-called professional. Become, if you remember the characteristics of professional educators, and for those, some of the academic staff, within 10 years they have reached the level of being recognized as a scholar. So if you feel that after 10 years or at 10 years we have already reached a level of scholar, then you can apply for Anugerah Academy Negara. But to me, it takes more than 10 years to reach this level where you have now become a scholar or recognized as a scholar. You have the traits of a scholar. Okay, so all these 3 stages must be captured as a story, as a narrative, plus with the relevant evidence to show that, to substantiate whatever that you have said in the story. Okay, so that's all about, basically this is what is teaching portfolio is about. So when we talk about what should be in the teaching portfolio, basically the story that would capture all these 3 elements: your competency, your performance, and your conduct. Please refer back to the recorded session of this title on professionalism in teaching, because I have deliberated, deliberated on this part. Yeah, if you want to really, if you want to understand how to create a good teaching portfolio, you must also understand this thing. Yeah. So I think in 5 minutes we take a break. Or maybe we can take a break now. I think a good time for us to take a break for 10 minutes. Good, yeah, Dr. Zulman. We take a break for 10 minutes.
Okay. Boleh.
At this point, then we come back at 10:35. Boleh ya?
Okay, boleh.
Alright, okay. Okey, 1 minit lagi Sempatlah minum
Okey bro, sempat nak regang-regang kan?
Ya. Sempat.
Sambil tu tolong isi borang borang attendance dengan evaluation form tu.
Ya. So nampak ramai
Bro.
juga hari ni Dr. Zalman.
60 orang. Bro, kalau Brighton tu dengan Mahara tadi, Mahara ni sebenarnya dia program lain dia integrate
Ya, dia different open source, dia open source application. So kita boleh integrate lah. So macam sekarang ni Uniten guna vendor. So boleh request vendor untuk integrate lah, integrate Mahara. Kemudian kita boleh buat training lah kepada staff.
Oh, maknanya Uniten boleh minta vendor masukkan lah masuk Mahara.
Macam mana terms dengan vendor kan. So tapi I guess we should be able to ask the vendor to add or integrate Mahara ke dalam Brighton tu.
Okey.
Ataupun untuk apa ni kita juga boleh we can actually ask our staff to use Google Site dululah. Google Site kan untuk
Google Site.
Create teaching portfolio, which is very simple, very easy. Yang penting structure tu yang penting. Structure and content. Okay. Cuma dalam Google Site ni bila kita nak simpan kita punya evidence and so on,
dia tak ada ruang.
Dia tak ada ruang, tapi kita boleh link sajalah. Kita boleh linkkan evidence tu, kita boleh letak dalam kita punya Google Drive, dan kita boleh linkkan lah, boleh juga. Okay. No problem sebenarnya. Tapi kalau kita guna Mahara at the institution punya level kan, jadi everything is one place. Google Site everywhere. Macam tu. So that's probably the next thing yang kita Kafel ataupun TLC, Kafel kan. Boleh. Ada thing kita boleh buat lah untuk improvement.
Part tu nanti 13 bulan Prof. Mungkin kalau kita sempat tengok macam mana dah ada link nanti kita boleh bincang kan part tu.
Ya.
Part 7.
Ya. Part tu nanti boleh mungkin apa ni very quickly I can show very quickly kan. Boleh gunakan Google Site tu apa ni build the structure. Tapi mungkin elok kita buat sebagai workshop lah, workshop face to face mungkin better lah.
Okey.
Bagi siapa yang selepas ini yang bersemangat nak buat, dan saya harap lah sekurang-kurangnya yang mendengar, yang attend the session this morning ni, every one of you will see the importance and the significance of having a teaching portfolio. Okay, now I mentioned just now, teaching portfolio is a documented evidence of everything that you have done, you have achieved in the last X number of years. So from the teaching portfolio, remember the 3 phases in our journey: novice, professional, scholar. When we reach the level, at least the professional level, where we have reached a point where we recognize, or people recognize, that we have achieved a so-called excellence in our teaching. So this also we call it teaching excellence. But how do we define excellence? How do we define teaching excellence? How do we know we have achieved the teaching excellence? And from the teaching portfolio, when someone read whatever that you have put in, whatever the narration, the story that you have told in the teaching portfolio, people can see, oh, this person has reached a level of excellence in his or her teaching. So basically teaching excellence, kalau dalam kita punya competency framework for teaching excellence, which I have shared earlier this year, that we have a performance criteria that define excellence. In a simple word, excellence is over and above. To me, it's very simple. Excellence is you have achieved a level or where you can deliver over and above. So we define the minimum or the baseline. Okay, so when you have delivered and achieved over and above the baseline, that is excellence. So let's say we are expected to do 10 things. So our KPI lah, so-called kan. So this is what you are supposed to deliver. 1, 2, 3, the so-called KPIs. At the end of the year, when you submit the so-called the yearly achievement report, the annual appraisal, not only you have achieved 3 targets or KPIs, but you have achieved over and above, maybe even 4 or 5 and more. And the 3 KPIs that you have achieved, not only you fulfill, but you go beyond it, extra mile. So teaching excellence is also, you can also look at it as delivering or achieving the extra miles. Okay, so the attainment of a high level of proficiency in the knowledge, skill, abilities, and behaviors required for effective teaching. So if I go back to the previous slide, all these things which we define in our framework, competency framework for teaching excellence, not only you have delivered the minimum, but you go beyond it. So high level of proficiency. So this includes technical or functional competencies, such as subject matter expertise and instructional design, and behavioral competencies, such as communication, collaboration, and cultural competency. So when people look at you, you are not only experts in the course that you teach, you are subject matter experts. People recognize that, students recognize that, the nation also recognize that, your peers recognize that. You are also very good, not only in your own subject matter, but how you teach the subject matter. You do it in a different way, different from other people. Your strategy, your approach is unique. Students love it. Okay, as a researcher, you have also excellent competency and so on. When you work with the industry, you deliver the project beyond their expectation, not only meeting the expectation, but beyond that. I think that's how, to me, excellent educator should always strive to deliver beyond, not just meeting the requirement or meeting the expectation, but beyond the expectation. That is a kind of people that we want to see to receive the Anugerah Akademi Negara. Beyond, yeah. So now the big why again, as I mentioned just now, by 11:30 today, this morning, I want to convince every one of you who are listening now in the session this morning will attend the second part on the 13th of July. And then after that, we'll take action to create the teaching portfolio. So I want to convince you now the big why you must have a teaching portfolio. Because once you have teaching portfolio, you can use it for many purposes. Can use to guide your professional development, because your teaching portfolio you can use as reflection. You can see how much you have done, how you have improved, what are still the gaps that you need to improve. It can be used to provide consistency and accountability. The administrators, the deans, HOD, the top management can look at your teaching portfolio, and they can use that to evaluate how good you are as a lecturer at Unit 10. Are you really an asset? Are you really an asset to Unit 10? I think we ought to ask this question all the time. Am I the asset to Unit 10? Am I a valuable, indispensable asset, almost indispensable? Nobody is indispensable, of course. But if I go now, if I leave Unit 10 now, Unit 10 will fill the big gap that they have to replace. They can feel a vacuum. They can feel suddenly this person leave, and they will become kelang kabut to find someone to replace. But if you are not an asset, if you go now, they don't feel, Unit 10 doesn't feel anything. So whether the top management will see, we can see whether you are an asset or not by looking at, your portfolio, what you have done over the years, because they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. Even the dean also wouldn't know what you have done if they don't see the proper record of what you have done. And it's your responsibility. The onus is on you to showcase, to tell people that this is my contribution. These are the significant, meaningful things that I've done. Everything can be put in the teaching portfolio. Improve students' outcome, because by having a teaching portfolio, you always use that as a reflection, as a feedback to you to see how you can improve based on the students' feedback and so on. Everything is captured in the teaching portfolio. Performance evaluation. If Unit 10, maybe one day they decided to have a teaching track as one of the track for promotion. Some public universities now, maybe 2 or 3, already have the special track for promotion based on teaching. But you have to show that you are eligible for that. Your teaching portfolio is one of the requirements for that. And for recruitment process, if you have got a very nice teaching portfolio, let's say you have been teaching at Unit 10 for 10 years, and you have properly document everything that you have done, your strength and so on. Now you have to leave Unit 10 for whatever reason, and you want to apply to a new university. You have the teaching portfolio to show to the prospective employer, and it's very easy for them to see your strength, your achievement, and whether you will become a new asset for that employer, for the university. So I hope this are enough to convince you why you must have teaching portfolio. I know not many aware about this. No, because this is not something that many universities actually really encourage their staff to do. But now I think this is something Unit 10 staff must do for yourself, for your students, for the stakeholders, for the university. Yeah. So we want you to do this, not because you are being forced or feel that this is something that imposed on you. No, we want you to do this at your own will, voluntarily, because this is good for your own career development, career path. It's good for your students because you always have a kind of check and balance. You always see how you can, from the teaching portfolio, you always reflect, you always alert and aware of what need to be improved, what is lacking, what I've done well, what I have not done well, and so on. So let's now look at a little bit more on the structure in general, but we will go into deeper, more detail in the next one, part 2. But for now, let me show you one example from USM. This is actually the front cover of the portfolio. Nicely done. I am very proud of my friend here from USM, Professor Maria Dr. Azida Abu Zidan. Some of you probably know her. And I think soon she will be at KPT. All right. So these are some of the key components. The key word here is key components because there are other things that you can put in, but these are the key, the main elements that you must have. The first thing which I want to elaborate a little bit more today, this morning, teaching philosophy. As I mentioned just now, maybe you have been teaching for 20 years, 15 years, but you have never really sit down and think about what is my teaching philosophy. Everyone, life philosophy, you have life philosophy, I guess. Maybe you even not really think about it, but if you really think about it, okay, what is my life philosophy? Oh, I live my life driven by this kind of belief. I believe that this and that. Okay, but what about teaching? You must have teaching philosophy. It is a clear and well articulated statement that outlines your belief, your values, and your goal as a teacher. What is your belief? Okay. Your belief in terms of students. For example, I believe education is the best tool to develop future talents for the nation. I believe that students must be guided by, they must learn driven by their motivation, something like that. So these are the things that we need to start thinking about it. What actually guide your teaching so far? The way you do things, the way you conduct yourself, the way you deal with the students, and so on. Values and goals as a teacher. So these are the main elements in the teaching philosophy. We will look at it more detail and some examples to illustrate. Then, of course, you need to have a resume. For example, here just now, okay. So Dr. Ashraf here put the whole resume here as a separate attachment, 4 pages here. Okay, as PDF. So you have a resume or CV, curriculum vitae, a comprehensive and well-organized document that summarizes your teaching experiences, credentials, and qualification. Put everything there. Okay, don't be shy. Don't think about showing off or everything. If you don't put it, then people wouldn't know. Okay. Lesson plans and instructional material. So this is become the important part, which is the substance that you need to have in the teaching portfolio. Especially you want to showcase your strategies and approach in teaching. You want to see the element of so-called scholarly teaching. What does it mean by scholarly teaching? I shall define later. Okay, so lesson plan and instructional material, a selection of representative lesson plan and instructional material, a selection of, because you have to choose a few. Be very selective. Okay, to demonstrate your teaching strategies and approach. Sample, yeah.
Yang ini yang selection ni maknanya yang unik lah,
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Only you are in the best position to choose, because only you know. This is my best example to show how I motivate my student in the class. This is the best example of how I engage students in cognitive engagement to get them to apply critical thinking. So I choose this example of problem-based learning. This is how best example to show how I do the formative assessment. This is example that I can show how I do whatever lah, macam tu. So choose the best artifacts, the best example from what your assessment, your learning activities, your lesson plan, your innovation. So that will be a representative of your strength. Yeah. Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam, Puan Ayu. Kenal.
Sihat, Prof, ya?
Ya, sihat Alhamdulillah.
Talking
Selamat
about this
Hari Raya.
lesson plan. Selamat Raya juga. Selamat Raya, Prof. Talking about this lesson plan and talking about all the apa yang kita buat dalam kelas and everything, should we include the feedback from student?
Oh, of course.
Oh.
Of course. Ya, itu
So
salah
kalau
satu. Ya.
Kalau kita tertinggal, kita tak boleh masukkan lah, Prof.
Kalau kita tertinggal, well, kita sentiasa boleh update kita punya portfolio.
I mean the feedback for that particular activity. Sebab tadi kan mention this is the initiative for certain, encouragement of the students and everything. But that is what we did. But if let's say we did not include the feedback of the student from the effort, so kita tak boleh include lah, Prof.
This is what we call missed opportunity.
Okay.
So from now on, remember, if you, let's say, next week or next course ataupun next semester you plan to introduce something innovative kan? Okay, something innovative. So after you have done that, let's say you nak buat jigsaw lah contohnya. Tak pernah buat jigsaw, so first time nak try jigsaw in your class. Okay, you try it out. Kemudian get feedback. Jangan lupa minta feedback daripada student, because that feedback you can take one or two or a few, put that in your teaching portfolio. Then in the narrative of your teaching portfolio, in the story, you can say, in one of the semesters, I introduced a new method, which I consider an improvement, method called jigsaw. So then you describe what you did, everything then. And I'm very happy that the students' feedback was very positive. So these are a sample of the feedback. Macam tu.
Okay.
Okay.
Baik.
Yeah. So jadi itu yang maksudnya tangible evidence. Ya.
Puan Rusnita nak tanya tu.
Okay, silakan. Saya tak tengok chat ni tau.
Okay. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, bila Prof dah sampai ke bahagian ni, sebenarnya I'm quite surprised bila mula-mula Prof tanya awal-awal tu siapa yang dah ada teaching portfolio, ada yang cakap tak ada yang cakap not yet. Sebenarnya mungkin kita lupa, Prof, it is a requirement. Sebenarnya everybody should have a teaching portfolio. It is in the QMS in the quality management system. Dia item nombor 1 dalam academic requirements, which is under procedure ACA 750001. The requirement to update the teaching portfolio every semester. Jadi sebenarnya dalam tu pun, dalam teaching portfolio kita tu telah dibahagi kepada 2. Personal portfolio, which is the patutnya ada lah you punya CV, except I can see lah teaching philosophy statement tu tak ada dalam tu, tak it's not a requirement. Jadi dalam personal portfolio tu dah ada keperluan untuk letakkan you punya so-called CV, curriculum vitae you. Okay. Kemudian part B is the course file. Dalam course file tu refers to you punya lesson plan, instructional material, sample assignments, assessment, semua diperlukan untuk masukkan dalam tu. Cumanya kita tidak sampai ke tahap digitalization, walaupun setiap tahun kami bincangkan apakah cara yang paling baik untuk digitalize, untuk mengelakkan kita to have a lot of this physical file. But every time update file tu jadi besar. Then we have been discussing this every year. Kemudian adalah colleges yang come up with initiative. Dan I would like to mention here CCI lah dulu, CSIT dulu, yang selalu come up with initiative untuk digitalizekan, tapi tidaklah sampai ke tahap ada our own macam web kita ataupun integrate dengan Brighton ataupun dulu muda lah kan. Kami tidak sampai ke tahap tu. At the same time, dalam sistem kita ni, kalau kita cakap pasal CV, dia ada dalam 3665, dalam teaching portfolio kita, dalam QMS pun dah ada, dalam website pun ada. Jadi dia bersepah-sepah tau, Prof. So the initiative untuk come up with a very, orang kata, comprehensive view lah kan of the teaching portfolio ni is very good and tepat pada masanya lah. Cuma kita kena cari jalan bagaimana kita nak sediakan platform tu. Dan kalau boleh kita cuba standardize lah. Maksudnya mudahkan bila kita ada teaching portfolio yang komprehensif ni, bukan sahaja untuk tujuan audit ni, tak semestinya audit tu lihat kepada keperluan dalam QMS menyatakan perlunya ada teaching portfolio. But how we do go about with making it more complete, more comprehensive, itu yang penting kita cuba capai lah kan. So jangan cakap kita tak ada, sebenarnya kita ada. Everybody, it is a keperluan. Okay, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof, for this ni.
Sorry,
very
Prof.
important.
Sorry, apa tadi? Prof apa?
Saya Puan Rosnita.
Rosnita ya? Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Rosnita ya. Because your feedback tadi very useful. Very useful. Memang kalau kita kata kita tak ada teaching portfolio, tapi we probably have some form of so-called teaching portfolio. But teaching portfolio in the by definition a complete documentation of everything that we do in our teaching, plus the narrative, plus the story. So macam kita punya course file, yes, we have the lesson plan, everything there, but there is no narrative, kan? Dia tak ada narrative. Jadi you cannot really tell what exactly you do. People can see in the form of the course file, but what is the impact? How exactly you do it? What are the issues or problems that you face when you are doing it? What's the feedback of the students from everything that you do in terms of the innovation, in terms of whatever that you do in the classroom? So those things missing. You don't have that in the course file, right? Kalau ada pun maybe very briefly. But in the teaching portfolio, the difference in teaching portfolio, we put everything together in one document. So it's actually complete document with your teaching philosophy, with your lesson plan, everything, your CV, everything, plus the story, plus the impact. You must be able to tell what's the impact, and the feedback from the students, feedback from the peers, feedback from the deans, from the administrators, your publication that you probably have, action research that you have probably on the innovation that you do in the classroom. Everything is put together in one complete documents. So once you have this, then basically I mentioned to Puan Mai and other TLC colleagues here, if you have the teaching portfolio and you have the competency framework for teaching excellence, it will cover everything. We don't have to worry about the audits because you can show your whether online or hard copy teaching portfolio, OBE, everything is basically covered. Itu untuk audits, untuk assessment. Remember, teaching portfolio can be used for assessment, but to me, more importantly, how our staff now can use teaching portfolio to drive their personal and professional development. And the bottom line is, the beneficiary will be our students. Itu yang paling penting sebenarnya. Yeah. So, jadi now we are looking at the structure of the teaching portfolio, and again I want to reiterate the point that teaching portfolio is a structured document, and we basically capture end to end. Apa maknanya end to end? From right from the moment the students we teach from day one at the university until now, and then we look at the students, we look at how we grow, then we can also tell a story how the students also grow from our course, from the way we teach them, the way we guide them as well. So that's everything that captured in the teaching portfolio. So in teaching portfolio also, which also in your course file, you have sample assessment, assignment, and so on. So as you can see, you have got something already that to be the kind of foundation of your complete teaching portfolio. You don't have to start from zero. Okay. When you see the example, you will see more. Okay, ini tadi apa ni Dr. apa tadi? Zahra ya? Kejap lupa nama dah. Dr. apa tadi?
Bukan, saya Rusnita je, Prof.
Puan Rusnita.
Ya.
Zahra lah begini.
Puan Rusnita.
Okay.
Tak tahu kenapa nama Zahra nak come to my mind.
Puan Ita.
Puan Ita, okay. So ini dia, contoh yang ini sebenarnya kita ikut, we follow the structure for Anugerah Akademik Negara. And you can't go wrong if we follow the structure like this. And Puan Ita tadi mentioned about maybe now it's about time for us to have a common platform for this teaching portfolio.
Yes, agree.
And you have been discussing this for years.
So what we have now is just like shared document dalam colleges lah, whereby kita upload saja, upgrade maknanya
decentralized lah.
Yeah, macam tu. It is decentralized.
It's not that difficult. What I think we just need I mean probably now the new entity CAFEL, whatever they call it, will drive this under WTLC. We can have a common platform now called Mahara. Yeah. So we integrate this Mahara in Brighton, and then we can just do the training. And probably we should have a policy also to drive this initiative, because although now I'm sharing this with 50 people in this group, so by the end of this program, probably only 50 people will really understand and appreciate the significance of having teaching portfolio. But we have 400 staff here, 400 plus. So I don't know, how do we convince them now to have teaching portfolio, because they are not here to listen, right? So anyway, a good teaching portfolio should have this one: pengenalan, falsafah pengajaran, teaching portfolio, so teaching philosophy, strategy. What's your strategy? Okay. Creativity and innovation. In Anugerah Akademik Negara, this one actually carry the highest weightage. Yeah? We want to see your creativity and innovation, what kind of innovation you have introduced, and show the evidence that it works. But even if it doesn't work, you can tell a story, you can share what you have learned from those failures, and that is something also useful. Yeah, not only to share the success, but also share the failures. In fact, we really appreciate when we read the teaching portfolio. I mean the jury and the panel, they actually love to read the failures as well, because from the failures they can see how this candidate learn from those failures and then grow from that. Improve from that. So don't just tell success in your teaching portfolio, tell about the failures as well, because this is where people can see how you learn from the failures, how you address the failures, how you close the gaps, how you improve, lessons learned, and then share those lessons to your colleagues as well. There is a scholarship part. Become a scholar when you start to share. Number 5, testimonial. This one, Puan Ayu, kalau tak capture testimonial daripada student tadi tu, is a missed opportunity. So that's why always get feedback from the students, especially when you introduce something that you feel, wow, this is really very impactful. This innovation really work. But it's your words. People cannot just take your words at face value. You must show evidence from those people, in this case students, who have experienced that and they really feel that it really helped them to understand the concept, understand the principle. They really learn something from that innovation. Testimonial is very important. Yeah. In the testimonial, sometimes you get a negative feedback from the student as well. Don't throw away that negative feedback. You should also choose some of the negative feedback, put in the portfolio to show that you are just a human being. You know, we are just a human being. We try our best, but the students don't like it. And from there, what is your action? What do you do about that? How do you address that negative comment or negative feedback from the students? So that's basically show the so-called the part where you want to improve yourself and you acknowledge your weakness. We want to see that, you know, people want to see that you are only a human. You are only human. You have weaknesses. You are not. You don't have strength only, but you don't have weaknesses. That's impossible. Then we want to see kepimpinan pendidikan, how you grow from novice to professional to become a scholar and become leaders, academic leaders, become thought leaders. You are not just maintain the status quo and just happy, you know, teaching, but that's all. Okay. And number 7, how do you improve yourself? You want to see your professional development, personal and professional development. Alamak, mouse ni kacau. Sekejap ya. Okay. Kesarjanaan PDP. This is actually the scholarship part. Yeah, the scholarship part meaning that people recognize you as a scholar. Remember, novice, professional, scholar. So we want to see the scholarship, kesarjanaan. Yeah, we want to see how you step out from your classroom. Now you are sharing your best practices through publication, through action research, through conducting workshops, through social media, sharing all the good stuff, writing, publication, blogs, everything. So meaning that you are disseminating and sharing your knowledge beyond the classroom. That's the scholarship part. Yeah. Of course, the CV. The CV, the Ponita, CV is only one part of this teaching portfolio. Strategi pengajaran, which basically the course file tadi tu is only one part saja. Yeah. Then recognition. What kind of recognition that you get at the faculty level, at the national level, at the global level, activity community, and of course appendix. So these are generally the structure, which in the second part nanti kita akan dive in more detail in some of this, yeah, especially number 2 here, falsafah pengajaran, strategy, and so on. I think we have a few more, like 15 minutes. Maybe I will say a little bit more about strategy pengajaran, but I will elaborate that further in the next one. Yeah. So, teaching philosophy. Again, I just want to mention the picture here. I'm very proud to say that I now start to practice using pictures for my presentation. I use Midjourney to create, yeah, so that I can also show to people, hey, you know, don't worry about using copyright pictures and so on. You can generate one using AI now. Okay, right. What is teaching philosophy? Teaching philosophy, so I just read first, then explain, refers to a written statement that reflects an educator's belief, values, principle. There are 3 elements there: beliefs, values, principles regarding teaching and learning. It serves as a foundation for their instructional approach, guiding their decisions and actions in the classroom. Imagine as a parent, how do you educate your children at home? Kan, kita ada filosofi kita. we have our own way of educating our children. This own way is actually our belief of how, our principle of how we should educate our students. Our children. The same thing with our students. You must have teaching philosophy to guide you. So this become your beacon, so to speak, or your guiding light that would help you to design your course, to help you to deliver your course, to help you to deal with the students and so on. Okay, so basically that's what teaching philosophy. So why it is crucial to have a teaching philosophy? Again, the same thing. You must have teaching philosophy. You must have teaching portfolio. So philosophy is important here because it gives you clarity of purpose. Clarity of purpose. A teaching philosophy helps educators clarify their purpose and goals as teachers. It allows them to articulate their belief, values, and principles regarding teaching and learning. Probably we have never thought about it. So now it's okay. It's time for us now to teach about what is our teaching philosophy. What is our belief? What is our values? What is our goals? What exactly we want to achieve from teaching? So this clarity provides a solid foundation for making instructional decisions and guiding their practices in the classroom. So clarity of purpose. That's reason number one why you want to have a teaching philosophy. Number two, intentional instruction. Meaning that everything that you do must have reasons, must have purpose. The clarity of purpose and intentional instruction, meaning that the way everything that you do must have intention. So what does it mean? A teaching philosophy helps educators align their instructional strategies and approaches with their core beliefs about education. So you believe in something, in certain way of doing things. So when you do it in the classroom, it aligns. Macam constructive alignment juga. But here you believe in something. So the way you act, the way you behave is also consistent. So it ensures that their teaching methods are intentional, purposeful, and consistent with their overall educational philosophy. So number two. Number three, why is it crucial? Okay, why is it crucial to have, number three here is professional identity. What does it mean by professional identity? A teaching philosophy statement serves as a reflection of an educator's professional identity. It highlights their unique strength, perspective, and teaching style. Sometimes kalau kita tak pernah fikir tentang teaching philosophy. Kalau orang tanya, katalah dalam interview, Dr. Zalman, can you tell us three of your strengths? What are three strengths that you want to that you can tell us? Yeah. So sometimes we find it hard to articulate because we never really thought about it. Sorry, Dr. Zalman, guna your name as an example. Tapi basically kalau kita have teaching portfolio, we already articulate it properly. We can easily tell people what is our unique strength. And people can see that from your teaching portfolio because there are evidence. Yeah, perspective and teaching style. It helps educators articulate what sets them apart and what they bring to the teaching profession. So talking about value. What is your value? Are you an asset? Are you an expensive asset? Okay. Yes, because I have unique strength here. So this is something that you must be able to articulate. Okay. Sambung lagi. Why it is crucial to have teaching philosophy? Okay. Number four, guide for decision making. Okay. If you have teaching philosophy, when faced with challenges or difficult choices in the classroom, a teaching philosophy can serve as a guide for decision making. It provides a framework for addressing classroom management issues, instructional dilemmas, and student engagement strategies. Number 5, continuous growth and development. To me, this is number 1 reason why you must have teaching portfolio. A teaching philosophy encourages educators to engage in reflection and self-assessment. It prompts them to critically evaluate their teaching practices and continuously seek ways to improve. It supports their professional growth and development by fostering a mindset of lifelong learning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my dear colleagues, sometimes we get too busy every day doing things. We go by the flow, kan? We bog down with routines works every day. So much on our plate, and we hardly have time to reflect on our own teaching. Have you ever asked yourself this question? Am I doing my best now, or have I delivered my best or beyond my best in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years? Have I really sit down and look at my strengths and my weaknesses? Have I done a personal SWOT? Have I addressed the students' issues and concerns? Have I addressed sufficiently and adequately whatever auditors have said about some of the shortcomings, some of the issues, and so on? So sometimes we don't have time to really think about this seriously. We are so busy with our routines day to day. So by having a teaching philosophy and teaching portfolio, this can help us to sit down and reflect and improve professionally. And finally, last but not least, reason why it is important to have a teaching philosophy as a guide. Communication and collaboration. So by a teaching philosophy facilitate communication and collaboration among educators, it enables teachers to share their approaches, belief, and strategy with colleagues, administrators, and parents. It can foster meaningful discussion about teaching and learning and promote collaboration among educators. So if you, let's say, when you put your teaching portfolio, let's say, online for public to see, rather than in a closed system like Mahara, still, you can open actually Mahara. Tapi if you don't have one, if you don't have any teaching portfolio, you don't showcase what your strength, what you do, and so on. So for example, like the one that I have here. So do you don't really know what I do in my teaching, what I do in my research? Yeah, and so on. So this one, Dr. Azida's one. You can actually go to her website here. There's a link, azidahaz.com. You can see here, Falsafah Pendidikan. Ini first page. Dengan ini CV dia. One page CV ya. Dengan gambar yang tersenyum lebar, very welcoming, very warm. Itu persona dia ya. Persona. We talk about persona in other time at other times. Okay, nampak tak? Nampak tak? Ya. Wow. Can you see? If I am a PhD student looking for a potential supervisor, or if I'm a postdoc looking a potential supervisor, or if I'm, let's say, international sponsor for research, when I come across this one, I look at dia punya falsafah, inovasi, portfolio pengajaran, CV dia, semuanya boleh download, everything. What do you think? Compared to someone who doesn't have this, they are not visible, they are not seen, they are just staying in their own room. Nobody knows except the students and maybe some of the colleagues. So I hope, I hope you can understand and appreciate why is it important to have. Ada lagi job application and interview, as I mentioned just now. If you leave Unit 10 now, after 10 years, you have the teaching portfolio, you can bring this to another university or to whatever employer that you are applying the job and show what you have done in your 10 years, 15 years, 20 years at the university. Yeah. Okay, so that's I think we have like 6 more minutes. Example of good teaching philosophy statement. I think probably I will defer this to next session so that we can elaborate more detail about teaching philosophy and go on the structure of the teaching portfolio. Yeah, we can cover that in the next part. So I think I will stop at this point. So maybe at this point you can have like 4 or 5 minutes, 5 minutes Q&A or discussion. Ada apa-apa soalan, silakan.
Okay, sahabat. Any question you can ask ataupun tulis dalam chat. So saya akan bacakan.
Kalau unmute pun terus senang lah, ya.
Prof.
Ya, silakan Puan Ayu.
Sahabat Ayu.
How do you keep the motivation of writing, the reflection? Because writing is one challenge. Then to look into ourselves for reflections is another challenge. So when have this teaching portfolio yang ada all the write up and your write up is very, comprehensive, how do you keep that motivation?
Yeah, that's a common question people ask, the motivation to find time to sit down and write the story, the narrative. Yeah. If you have been if you follow me, you have been following me. You see, writing naturally for me is something that I love to do, so it's not that difficult. But for many of us, as I mentioned earlier, we get too busy with our daily routines, teaching, research, supervision, administration, and so on and so forth. So much. I believe everyone will say that there's so much on our plate, and they spill over. Dah melempah dah. And now you ask us to do teaching portfolio. What's the point? So in this session this morning, basically, I try to convince these are the points, these are the reasons, these are the why. So I hope by now you are convinced. That is the most important thing. If you are now convinced that having a teaching portfolio, having a proper teaching philosophy, write it down properly, and then you have a storyline to tell your journey from day 1, you join Unit 10 and so on. If you are convinced now that it is important because it allows you to reflect, evaluate how well you have done so far, how much you have improved from day 1 you join Unit 10. What have I done to help my students? What have I done to give the best learning experience to my students? What have I done to make sure that the program outcome that we promise in our documents, at the end of this program, you should be able to, or at the end of the course, you should be able to. That is our promise, our janji. If we don't deliver that, then we fail. Then, in fact, the students can also saman kita kan. So all this must be put together as our narrative in the teaching portfolio. If you convince now, then I think you can find the motivation, Bonayu. You can now find the motivation. Now I need to sit down and start to put everything in the teaching portfolio, start to write down my teaching philosophy, start to think seriously. What is the philosophy guiding me now, until now, guiding my teaching? So you will learn how to write a proper teaching portfolio. We can do this in a proper workshop. But if you manage to do that, then I think will give you the motivation now to start properly writing your teaching portfolio, the narrative, yeah, writing the story and so on. And you'll find it very, very satisfying. Yeah, I find it, the experience is very satisfying. After, you know, when I, at the point when I apply for the Anugerah Akademi Negara, 15 years, I was in USM for 15 years, and I don't think not even once, I really sit down and reflect properly. That's my confession, yeah. But when I was kind of forced to apply actually, yeah. When I was forced to apply for Anugerah Akademi Negara in 2008, honestly, I have never heard about teaching portfolio because nobody tell me. At that time, we don't have a proper program for the young lecturers to guide them to have a teaching portfolio. So I don't even know what is teaching portfolio. I didn't even know. So I have to find out. And luckily, I have people from School of Education and so on to guide me, and then the rest I learned by myself. And during the process of writing the teaching portfolio, it took me about 1 week actually. Imagine, because from zero. So that's why now we want to encourage our staff to start now. Okay. But at that time, I was basically started from zero. I don't even have my evidence everywhere. The student testimonial, macam-macam. So within that 1 week, day and night, practically, literally, day and night, I have to put things together in 1 week. But let me tell you this. During the process of putting the teaching portfolio and writing the teaching portfolio, writing the narrative, the story, and so on, suddenly something sparked in my mind. Oh my God. This is what I have done in 15 years. I never really sit down and think about it. So that experience, as I mentioned, was a tipping point for me. After I received the award, basically, I jumped to another trajectory, changed the slope, basically, meaning that from that point onwards, I start to learn more seriously about the pedagogy. I start to read books about adult learning theories. You can name it. I started to read a lot of books on pedagogy, a lot of books on macam-macam lagi lah, assessment and so on. After 15 years in USM. So now we want our Unit 10 colleagues now not experience the same thing like what I've experienced. We want now to start. So that's why today I hope I can, inspire you now and really make you understand the importance of. So Puan Ayu, the short answer to that is, if now you understand and convince that teaching portfolio is important, surely you'll find the motivation and time to write.
Sorry for Prof.
Yeah.
I think I may have the same experience as yours. You are after 15 years, and mine is after 16 years. This is my 16 years.
You start to have your teaching portfolio.
Yeah, the proper one lah. Because as what Puan Rosnita was saying, we did have that. It's just that we just put in what is required without even thinking. As what you said, reflection. What have I done for all these years? What have I taught the students? Is it effective or not? And just to look at the teaching evaluation in the system, either good or bad, but not really on each session.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, it is sparked something in me. Thank you.
Yeah, because whatever that we do, we have in CMS, the teaching file, apa lagi? Those things, many people are actually doing it just to fulfill the requirement for the documentation part, for the audits and so on, right? That's why I always say that OBE so far is more of compliance. People just do it to comply and to meet the requirement, that's all. Once you have it, okay, done. Sometimes maybe you don't even give much thought doing it. You just do it just to fulfill the requirement. There's no penghayatan. There's no really appreciation. You just do it for the sake of meeting the requirement. So now, if we want to take Unit 10 to the next level, we want to go to the next level in terms of menghayati. How to menghayati? This is where the teaching portfolio comes in. This is where we put together the competency for teaching excellence. We put together not only from what we have at CMS, so we can pull all that and add more. As you see in the structure just now, we have the teaching philosophy, we have other things, and so can put together to become a coherent and cohesive document that you can be proud of, and you would want to read it again and again, you know. Just like what happened to me, I always go back to my teaching portfolio and I kind of feeling like unbelievable, you know. I don't believe that I've done all these things. Sometimes I have that kind of feeling, wow, where did I find, macam Pak Ayu kata lah, you ask that question to me, but sometimes I ask the same question to myself. Where did I find all the time to do all this? Sometimes I tak percaya dengan diri sendiri tau. But because of driven by the understanding, when you understood why it is important, then it motivates you to do it. You get the motivation. The intrinsic motivation comes in that form. And intrinsic motivation would drive you all the way, as opposed to extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards.
Yes.
Kan?
Tapi kan Prof, kalau macam ni dah 16 tahun kan, should I'm so sorry because I have to ask this in public like this. It's just that when reflecting the 15 years, the 16 years, dan hari ni baru, you know, get the full understanding and everything. Should we start from the day one, or should we just, you know, past is past, then we start fresh?
No. Past is good in certain things, certain ways. But for teaching portfolio, you have to at least you have to start your reflection and the story from the very beginning. In terms of the story, because remember the growth, how you grow, from novice, from green novice to professional. At least within that 10 years, I would say 10 years lah. 1 from day 1 to the 10 or 15 years, I would say within that. So your teaching portfolio you should be able to give the narrative.
See.
From zero to hero.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, thank you, Prof.
Then you can say, from now on, moving forward, now, what shall I do? So.
Lama nak reflect tu, Prof.
Yeah, because tapi to me it's worth it. It's worthwhile. You spend some
itu
time.
Part 2 nanti. Part 2 nanti kita ajar ni, part 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, Dr. Zuman, I would love to hear one or two more daripada kawan-kawan kita ni, how the session today have, macam Puan Ayu kata tadi, spark something in her mind. So kalau kita dapat dengar from one or two more daripada kawan-kawan kita ni. Puan Nita tadi macam mana, Puan Nita? What do you think, Puan Nita?
Okay, I think it's very useful and high time kita cuba buat perubahan kepada the existing teaching portfolio yang everybody has actually. Everybody required to develop. Cuma cara kita on how kita update ikut the requirements and the platform untuk update dan masukkan keperluan yang Prof dah sebutkan tadi, supaya not only we have the motivation untuk dapatkan anugerah tu lah kalau kita mampu kan. At the same time, it answers to all tau. Dia menjawab kepada persoalan not only audit, juga kepada peluang-peluang untuk mendapatkan anugerah lah. It's complete. Sangat complete.
complete.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. So, while I'm still here at Unit 10, saya punya term ni sampai bulan 12 ya. Tak tahulah kalau ada peluang lagi untuk meneruskan. Tapi
InsyaAllah sambung.
I really tapi saya betul-betul secara ikhlasnya saya nak cuba membantu warga Unit 10. Because I basically on this one bukan nak kata pakar, no. Tapi I know because I've been helping young lecturers kat USM in the past 10 years tau. Ya. Jadi I nampak I mentioned to Naib Chancellor in the last meeting. I kata apa yang kita perlu kat Unit 10 ni kita perlu ada capacity building. Ya, capacity building. The institution is about the people. And the people in this case is the academic staff. If the academic staff have all the capability in terms of teaching, in terms of research, meaning that they have the right competency, we can do everything. We can fly. So I can help for teaching. So we can learn how to do teaching portfolio. We have the teaching framework already, competency framework. I can help in research as well. Ya, I tengoklah kalau ada peluang ya. Jadi insyaAllah saya berharap rakan-rakan sahabat-sahabat Unit 10 yang mendengar ni, I'm here at level 3 di sini ni, in my room. Datanglah jenguk dan have we can chat and so on one-to-one basis, no problem. Because I'm here to offer my service to everyone here.
Betul. Wow, Prof, kita punya peserta daripada awal 50 sekarang ni 62 konsisten tau. Semua berminat, motivasi betul.
Alangkah bagusnya kalau 400 orang ada kat dalam ni
Yalah. Okey. So terima kasih pada sahabat semua, terima kasih pada Prof kerana telah memberi satu ilmu yang sangat bernilai. So untuk makluman kita akan ada part 2 Part 2 ni more pada praktikal lah. Kita akan ajar sikit-sikit lah cara praktikal pada 13 bulan Julai. So at least kalau siapa-siapa yang dah ada portfolio tu bolehlah tunjuk kat Prof ke. Dia boleh komen ke.
Ya, boleh. Allah. Seriously, kalau siapa yang ada tu next webinar 17 hari bulan tu kita boleh
13,
share.
13 bulan 7.
13 ya?
Sorry. 13 bulan 7. Okey.
Mungkin Puan Betty, Dr. Betty ke? Kalau boleh tunjuk.
Okey, so terima kasih kepada Prof, terima kasih kepada semua. So kita sudahi dengan bacaan wal-amas dan tasbih kafarah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okey, terima kasih. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Terima kasih, Prof. Terima kasih, DLC.